Welcome back to Market Makers on Promo Go TV. I'm your host, Rusty Pepper. On Market Makers, we explore the fascinating world of wine, beer, and spirit makers and the stories behind these amazing brands. Joining us today is Rob Sargent, the owner of Alpine Distilling. Rob, welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, Rusty. Thanks for having me.
Glad you're able to hop on with us. So you're a proud owner of Alpine Distilling, and it's in beautiful Park City.
Yeah, it's why we should say, I guess, with today's climate, Alpine Distilling / Sanitizer house. Yeah, and we're talking late spring, so it's we have our beautiful weather. The ski resort's 3 miles from here, and it's it's a fantastic place to raise kids. It's also really Utah's a great state for businesses in general, and yeah, it's been really nice to start and run the distillery here.
Yeah. So you are in the process of making a bunch of hand sanitizer as well, like all the other distillers out there.
Yeah, it's been really nice to see the cohort see that there's opportunity to do the right thing. We're providing. So what we've decided to do is provide everything free for our first responders. So right now we're averaging a little over 10 gallons a week for our firemen, our police department, our EMTs, everyone on the front line of having to go into, car wrecks or house fires and not know what they're walking into. So it's been really nice for us to be able to provide that. Today is actually the first day we're bottling in gallon containers for some assisted living facilities. We've had one hospital group, and then Rusty, I think about 47 assisted living facilities reach out. And so we're doing our best. And again, what's really nice is that our supply chain has really responded. I mean, it's when this is all done and said, I think there's gonna be a lot of people who say that distilleries really put the best foot forward. And in that group, I'm really proud of what Alpine Distilling is able to contribute.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's one of those things that you look at in a time of crisis, the type of industries that are able to step up and lend their abilities, and it's not a cheap thing to do. I mean, you're still having to produce it. You got to bottle it. It becomes a challenge, and but it is the right thing to do. And it's been really awesome to see so many people jump in and help each other out.
Yeah, I mean, one quick note on that too. I lived through Hurricane Katrina. My wife and I had just gotten married, and we lost our house and everything. We met and married in New Orleans. And so you see that these sort of unusual leadership windows and people who just fast track things because it's right. Whoever it is with the TTB that so quickly decided what it meant for us to do this, how to do it, and gave us such clear, concise, easy to understand guidance. Hats off. Really tremendous leadership from a group that normally you wouldn't associate that trait with that group. That's just because it's not really salient to what they do. But boy, in this case, just fast, clear, concise. And then the whole Discus group, the National Distilled Spirits Council, again, just the communication's just been awesome. It really has been. I feel like we're in a great industry for this right now. It's nice to help.
Yeah. Now, communication is key. I mean, that's one of the biggest parts is I think you really see when those lines of communications are open and they're clear and you get all that, it makes it easy to get everybody aligned and on the same page and moving forward. So, well, hopefully the end will be in sight soon. If we can get everybody to stay home and let this thing pass, we'll get back to business as normal. So let's talk about business and, your background, how you guys ended up starting, because you started it with your wife, correct?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. My parents met and married when they were at University of Kentucky. And distilling, most distillers know this, if you look at all the cereals, corn is fairly perishable. You got to do something with corn pretty quickly. It doesn't store as well as winter wheat or especially rye. And so it's not unusual. If you own land, we grew corn and hemp on our farm in Kentucky. If you grew corn, it wasn't unusual that someone in a farm was making something with it. Flashback to the sanitizer. My grandma Jane, who there's a picture of her right over here, she was a World War II nurse, And she would talk about getting in a little airplane and flying to these little towns, you know, Pikeville and Hazard and Whitesburg, Kentucky. And the first thing they would do is find someone with a still so that they could clean, as an antiseptic, so they could clean their medical tools. And I remember she just passed last year at 97. And I remember her telling me that story, and it's so funny. I think she would really get a kick out of this. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm from Kentucky. My dad has actually gone and gotten his certification as a distiller. And then my wife went to Scotland and got a diploma in gin making. And so it's really been nice to, sorry for the background noise.
It's a working facility.
We are definitely a working facility. It's been nice to do this with Sarah, with my wife, and also to get some of the accolades that we've received together. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I give you both of you a lot of credit for being able to work together. That would not be something that a lot of people can do. I'm one of those people that would not be able to do that. So,
you know, I think we each have our lane, right? So it's funny in our distillery, and I know I'm pointing, and this is not this, you know, it's a terrible video, but you know what I'm looking at is a handmade pot still. It's a 2,000 liter copper pot still, handmade in Alabama, and I'm looking at a handmade column still. It's made up in Michigan. And we separate our operations pretty clearly. There's this dichotomy between this really old looking cypress wood wrapped Bain Marie pot still and this really high tech computer driven column still. And I think that tells the story of us. You know, I manage the grain side. You know, we kind of old, very traditional. We use, you know, yeast and enzymes from Kentucky. We use local wheat and local barley that's actually malted in Utah, but you know, the corn we get from Missouri because they grow the best corn. And then the other side of it, you know, my wife manages all the botanicals. And we keep about 35 botanicals in house. We use 7 for our core gin, but we do a lot of custom and private label gin. And it's kind of cool. So I understand where you're coming from. And if we were both like trying to operate the pot still, you know, I imagine there's a lot of this, but what she does. And I love that. And what I do, you know, I do, and we try to keep out of each other's way, and that helps.
That's great. So let's talk about the product there at Alpine. What products are y'all producing?
Yeah, so from ethanol, obviously we have a vodka, which you do, again, a lot of private label stuff. That's the base as well for our gin, which is 100% vapor extracted. We have 2 vapor baskets that we use on that column still. So all of our botanical spirits are all vapor extracted. And then that's the base for our liqueurs. We started with a liqueur, it's called preserve liqueur. And then from the cereal side, right now we're really cooking 2 big mash bills. We've done 3, but we've kind of boiled it down to 2. Our bourbon mash bill is a wheated mash bill. It's the maker's mash bill. It's corn, wheat, and barley. And then we do 100% malted barley. That was our first whiskey that we started producing. And yeah, I mean, we're pretty boutique. You know, we average 2 to 3 barrels a week. You know, I mean, all of our stuff is very handmade. It's very controlled. And that's kind of where, you know, that's where we found that people like us to be.
Yeah. So when, you know, normally this time of year, you would have people up there skiing and all that. And I guess during the summertime, you have people there enjoying the beauty of Park City. Yep. What are some of the different, I guess, the uniqueness of, you know, Alpine Distilling and things that y'all offer for the general public when they're out, and, you know, for anybody that might be coming to Park City?
Yeah, well, we have a bar on Main Street, and it's the pie bar. It seats 22 people. It's intimate. We do cocktails and pie. There are about 100 great places to get dinner. And our thought was to be complimentary, not competitive. And so we worked with a local baker to do a bourbon pecan pie, to do, you know, berries, to do vanilla cream, things. And look, man, if you don't like an old fashioned and a pecan pie, then God bless you, but I don't need you in my life, right? I mean, yeah. It's there's not a lot I can do for you.
I can go for that one right now.
Yeah, I would say sounds good, doesn't it? It's and it is funny. People come in, you know, before they go out, and then they come in after. And mentally, it's kind of nice to just watch people just relax, you know, and enjoy. Very simple. We're not, you know, we're not very fancy. We really are trying to produce the best spirits we can produce. And for the pie side, for our bar side, just have it be very casual. The bartenders really love it. You know, they some of the music they play is just terrible, you know, and you know, that's I think that's great. You know, we a lot of personality in there. It's pretty cool. So
The personality is always fun for a bar. That's what a bar needs, is a good personality.
yeah, you know, isn't it fantastic? You know, living in New Orleans for 13 years, you know, the service industry is a profession there, and it's a great profession. And so you'll meet people who, I mean, man, you meet bartenders who, you know, you make six figures, and they're professional about it, and their knowledge, they're as dedicated to that as any industry of anyone I've ever seen. And I love that that's moving out. You know, I don't know what the scene's like in, you know, Seattle or in Miami, but I'm sure it's pretty similar. And so I just love that the pertinent side of this rise in craft distilling is that it's giving rise to this this whole industry of supporting people who really are embracing that historic job. And for us, just a note about Alpine, because we operate in transparency, we do a lot of training. So we get a lot of people who fly in here and spend days with us, cooking mash, you know, dumping barrels, learning about yeast, learning about, you know, the fermentation, attenuation, flocculation processes, distilling, obviously, but then also making a lot of custom gins. And we found, Rusty, that people they're just hungry for that knowledge. And that's a pretty cool part of what we do.
Do you do any of that online?
You know, it's so funny you say that. I've been doing some videos on our just in the last week on what I've just called tele-distilling, just because we want to do tastings and stuff. If I were smarter, I'd be doing more of those, or if I had more bandwidth. Again, the Sanitizer, it's been for everybody. You know, sourcing has been stressful. Just figuring out if we're doing something illegal or we're going to get in trouble has been stressful. But I'd like to do more of that, because we definitely get requests. And, you know, again, I bring the camera around, or the phone, and just show everybody what we do and how we do it. So it's, which is pretty cool. It's nice at our size that we're able to share stuff like that.
Absolutely. So what's the one thing that when you really look back at what y'all built over the last decade almost, that you're the most proud of?
Well, yeah, man, that's a big question. To the point earlier about my wife, I traveled for a living for 15 years, and I really only had a couple jobs. I see the footballs in the back, and I was director of game day operations for the National Football League. And then I started a company that J&J picked up. And so I was vice president of innovation for Johnson & Johnson. And I was terrible at that job. And I was not good. And they weren't good for me, and I wasn't good for them. But I traveled nonstop. And I felt like that's what I needed to do. And since we started this, like we're broke. We don't go out much. You know, we don't travel like we used to travel. You know, she drives a Nissan, I drive a Jeep. It's, you know, we're not living high on the hog, but man, the relationship that I have with my wife and my kids is worth everything. And I wouldn't have that if I were still on the road. So if anything, the distillery has given me an opportunity to focus on what really matters to me, which is creating something that makes people smile. And then also getting closer to the people that I love and to spend my time with. I know it sounds corny, but it is true. And I'll tell you, ask about product.
I think it sounds fantastic. I think it sounds like a dream for most people.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we can't turn the corner on this thing, I might be an Uber driver. You know, who knows? But you know, we're giving it our best. We launched with a product called Preserve Liqueur. So at the time, I was pretty miserable. The office was in Boston. We lived here. I was on the road all the time. Again, by the way, J&J is a fantastic company. They do great work. I'm proud of my association with them. It just wasn't a good fit for me. I want to make
Absolutely.
sure that I'm not being disparaging the people who supported me. But my wife was, I think, tired of hearing me complain and moan, and took a picture of the sun setting off of our backyard. I went to culinary school in Louisiana, and she said, "All right, smart ass, turn this thing into flavor." And that's what we did. I looked at that picture, and I outlined, the separation of colors, and it became black tea, blood orange, candied raspberry, lemon balm, and ginger. And we made that with a group out of Louisville, Kentucky, that a lot of people know. And we won a platinum award at SIP with that. It brought us to Hong Kong. It brought us to Shanghai. It brought us to South Africa, to Berlin, to Edinburgh, to London. It's gone on to win. It just won its 5th double gold at the World Spirits Competition. It's won double gold at Women's Wine and Spirits in London. So it's really cool. It started very organically, and that sort of has been the feature for us, everything moving forward. And we are a botanical company. We see wood as a botanical. You know, the way that we work with Kelvin Cooperage, who we use out of Louisville exclusively, the way that we understand, you know, the sugars in the wood and the release and the proof of our distillate into the barrel and the time and the conditions that we're putting them in. You know, we're treating it just like we would treat juniper, and it's been a good fit for us.
It's definitely an art and science. I mean, people don't, I think, realize really what it takes to make a great product.
Yeah, I mean, and there are, you know, I'll give like props to every time I think I know something, you know, I'll talk to like Pat Heist, who owns Firm Solutions, where we buy our supplies, and also they own Wilderness Trail. And I'll talk to him about what they're doing with their bourbon. And I just, you know, I feel like I'm, you know, 3rd grade arts and crafts talking to Leonardo, you know, da Vinci. There's a lot of skill and talent in this country. And I think, again, programs like yours, you know, if we all can celebrate that. Someone asked me, Forbes was doing a thing on my wife online, and I got a question that was, what do you say to people who don't like gin? And I'm like, it's like saying you don't like weather. Maybe you don't need to live in Miami. You need to live in Portland, Oregon. Maybe you don't need to live in Portland. You should live in Albuquerque. I think the same thing is true with whiskey. There are such great, versatile, fantastic whiskeys being made that you just have to find your right weather pattern. And fortunately for us, people like what we make. I'm happy to celebrate what other people are doing. I'm a big fan of a lot of other companies. I don't see it as competition, because if there was one whiskey, then that's, you know, that would be pretty damn boring. Yeah. So I love what we're doing, and especially, again, with the gin and the liqueurs.
Yeah, the craft, the whole industry, it's definitely a community. It's more than an industry. It's really more of a community, and that's what I'm really seeing and going out there and talking to distillers like yourself. They're all in it together, and they understand it, and they're learning from each other, and they're pretty, you know, there's definitely some egos out there.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, though, I think they all understand the importance of, you know, it's made for sharing, and so they're willing to open up and be a lot more in the community base when it comes to sharing their.
Yeah, man. I mean, and I think what you know, at the end of the day, that's what matters, right? At least for us, you know, we're not a branding company, and I'm jealous of those, you know, the companies that just have such a natural skill in that. You know, for us, it's kind of the anti-branding. We're real transparent. We'll tell you the pH of our water and the mash tun. We'll tell you the pH coming off the fermenters. We'll tell you whatever you want to know, because we want you to decide for the right reasons that we're the right spirit for your, you know, for your bar, for your home, for your party, whatever it may be. And you're right, there are definitely some egos, and that doesn't bother me. I think that the one thing I hope that we get to is, again, I hope we get to the point where customers have a better understanding of what they're buying. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with bulk producers of whiskey, because it's such an equipment investment. I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. No matter what the brand is, I don't have a problem with it. But I think customers, I wish we made it easier for them to understand if you're buying something made by hand, distilled, you know, on site, versus something sourced, which again is for many people, that's the exact right answer. I tell people all the time, the best rye whiskey I've ever had, which is in 4 or 5 different labels, is MGP. And I love, it's honey and white pepper. I think it's a fantastic spirit, and people should be able to celebrate that. And that's not what we do, but I think it's great. So.
Yeah. So you bring up a good point. How do you get the general public, the consumers, to understand more about the product that is being made out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's I forget who's running it. Like for single malt, there's someone in the Pacific Northwest who started sort of a designation for what that means to be an American single malt, and trying to wrap their hands around that so that there's more transparency in what that means. for the consumer. I think it's honestly, it's grassroots campaigns like that. What New York has done for their distillers who use New York rye, I think is awesome. You know, just the way that they're giving them tax breaks, they're celebrating. You could talk about where it came from, what farm. I think that's really cool. You know, Utah, we're in the middle of nowhere. You know, it's hard for us out here. We're the high desert. So again, water really matters. All that stuff is really important. So we're in a different place, but I think we're getting there. I think honestly, Rusty, maybe I hope it didn't sound negative. I think the pace is actually the right pace. I just think sometimes we'll get interesting responses from people when they realize, oh wait, this has sugar in it. Yeah, it's liqueur. That's and so it's that sort of education of that's what it means, and so it's fun.
Yeah, I think it's been. I'm glad we had a chance to sit and talk. I know you are busy with making hand sanitizer.
Yes.
And I think we're all better for folks like you out there doing that. So, Rob, we really appreciate all the insights and sharing more about Alpine. And if you'd like to learn more about Rob and Alpine Distilling, please visit us at promogocrm.com and check out our blog. And if you'd like to be a guest on a future show, please reach out to us because we'd love to have you as one of our amazing guests. Until then, I'm Rusty Pepper, VP of Sales at Promogo. Thanks for watching. Rob, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Rusty. Have a great day and be safe with your family, yes?
You do the same.
Okay. Thank you.